For this video, we are going to be discussing composite figures. So we're going to be talking in this video about area and perimeter. So perimeter is just the distance around the outside of a shape. This is something that you've done before and you should know that all we do to find perimeter is simply add up the lengths of all the sides. So we just see what is the distance around the outside of a shape. Area is the amount of space that's inside of a shape. So let's just say I draw some random shape here, whatever. Okay, so here's a shape, all right? The perimeter is just the distance around the outside of this shape, and the area is just the space inside of the shape. And different shapes have different formulas to find their area. So here are some shapes that you should already know how to find the area and perimeter of. So for triangles, the formula for area is the area equals 1/2 the base times the height. The base just being one of the sides, and the height being the distance from the opposite vertex to the side. So it's just 1/2 the base times the height. A parallelogram is just the area equals the base times the height. Same thing as a triangle, just without the 1/2. So basically, you just take the base, one of the sides, and the height, which is the distance from one side to the side parallel it, and multiply them together. A rectangle, the formula for area is basically the same thing as a parallelogram. It's just length times width. And length times width and base times height, they basically mean the same thing in a rectangle, but it's length times width. Rectangle, we have a perimeter formula, which is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width, because this side and this side are the same, and this side and this side are the same. So if I multiply this side by 2 and this side by 2 and add them together, I'll get the whole perimeter. Squares are just special rectangles where all the sides are the same length. So the perimeter is just 4 times the side. So if this has a side length of 3, then its perimeter is just 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, or 4 times 3, which is 12. And the area is just the side squared. So for the area of this square, it'd be like 3 times 3 is 9. So that's all we need to do for the formula for area and perimeter of a square. Trapezoids are these interesting shapes that have 4 sides and 2 of them are parallel to each other. And the formula looks confusing, but what it is it's 1/2 the height, which is the distance between the 2 parallel sides, times the sum of the bases, and the bases are just the 2 parallel sides. So for example, I said this was 2, and this was 5, and this was 3, then the area would just be 1/2 times the height, which is 3, times the sum of the bases, the 2 parallel sides, 2 plus 5. If we work out the order of operations, that's 1/2 times 3 times 7. Okay, so that's 1.5 times 7, which is 10.5 is the area. So it's just we add the 2 parallel sides, multiply them by the height, and then divide by 2, or multiply by half. And then we have circles. So circles don't, the perimeter of a circle has a special name, and that name is the circumference. And circumference is just the perimeter of a circle. It just has its own special name. And the formula is 2 times pi times the radius. The radius is the distance from the center of a circle to its edge. Okay, so it's 2 times pi times the radius. Or the other way of thinking of it is pi times the diameter. And the diameter is just the distance from one side of the circle to the other passing through the center. And diameter is 2 times the radius. Diameter is 2 times the radius. So both of these formulas work. 2 pi r or pi times the radius, or pi times the diameter. These both work to tell me the distance around the outside of this circle. And the area is pi times the radius squared. So that's all we need to do to be able to find the area of a circle. All right, and for many of the problems that we're going to be doing, we're going to be working with semicircles. And a semicircle is if you just think this half of a circle, okay? So semicircle is just half of a circle. And for a semicircle, well, the circumference is half of a circle, so instead of 2 pi r, it's just pi r. And for the area, it's 1/2 pi r squared, because it's half a circle. And we're going to be working more with semicircles than we are with whole circles. So you really need to get used to using these formulas, because we're going to use them in the problems that we're going to do. All right. But not all shapes have formulas to find their areas. And for these shapes, like this one here, this sort of L shape, it's not a rectangle, it's not a square, it's not a triangle. We don't really know what the formula is for this. And for these shapes, we could just divide them into shapes that we know the formulas for. Okay? So, oops. Shapes that are made of other shapes are called composite figures. So that's what we're going to be talking about the most. So this is a composite figure because it's made up of more than one shape. So if I want to divide this thing up, if I want to find a way to find the area of it, I can just draw this dotted line here. And this dotted line takes my original shape and cuts it into 2 rectangles. Well, now that I have 2 rectangles, I can find the area and perimeter of these no problem. So first, let's do the perimeter. All right. In order to find the perimeter of this whole shape, I have to add up all of the sides. So I've got 24 feet up here, 27 feet on this side, 18 feet right here, and 30 feet right here. So in order to find the perimeter, I need to add up all the sides. But I have 3 sides, 1, 2, 3, that I don't know the lengths of yet. In order to find the perimeter and also to find the area, I'm going to have to find out what these side lengths are. So let's think about how we can do this. We know from here, from here to here is 30 feet. All right, I'm drawing these lines so we can see this. We know from here to here is 30 feet. And we know from here to here is 24 feet. So this is 24. So the question is, how much is left here? We need that to be able to figure out how much this one is. I'm sorry. We don't need this. This whole thing's 30. We just need to know these two. Okay? But we know that whatever this distance here is the exact same as this distance here. We know this whole thing from here to here is 30. We know from here to here is 24. So what's left? Well, 30 minus 24 is 6. So this side right here must be 6. And if this side is 6, so is this one up here, because they're the same. All right, so notice how I did that. I said this whole thing is 30. This part of it's 24. How much is left? 6. All right, so I've got that 6 there. Put that over here. Similarly, we know this whole thing is 27, and we're told that this part is 18. So from here to here is 18. Question is, how much is left? How much is left here? Well, 27 minus 18 is 9. Well, I know this side is the same as this side. So if this guy is 9, then this side must also be 9. And there we go. Now I've got all of my side lengths. So I can add them all up. I'm going to do 24 plus 27 plus 18 plus 30 plus 6 plus 9, and I get a perimeter of 114 feet. All right. So all I did is add up along the outside, and I just had to figure out what these two missing sides were. Now what I need to do is I need to find the area. Well, to find the area, I need to find the area of this rectangle, and I need to find the area of this rectangle, and I need to add them together. So let's do that. Area, we know the formula for rectangle area is area equals length times width. In this rectangle here, my length is 24 feet, and my width is 27 feet. So that's 24 times 27. So let's see, 24 times 27. That's 648. And my units are always, for area, are always squared. So 648 feet squared. And then I figured out for this rectangle, once again, the formula is A equals L times W. That's an L. I figured out that this side was 6 and this side was 9. So my area equals 6 times 9, which is 54 feet squared. So to find my total area, all I do is add this area plus this one. So 648 plus 54 gives me 702 feet squared. And we're done. So you can see that all we have to do to find the area of this shape is cut it into shapes that we know and find those areas and then add them up. To find the perimeter, we just find missing side lengths and then add all those up. All right, so let's take a look at some more examples. Example 1 says find the area and perimeter of this shape below. All right, well, first let's think about how we can cut this thing up into shapes that we know the areas of. I could go here and make two rectangles and a triangle, or I can just draw one line, and now I have a rectangle and a parallelogram. All right, so that's how we're going to do this, is with our rectangle and parallelogram. Actually, make this teeny bit smaller. Let's start with the perimeter. So for the perimeter, I've got two sides that I don't know the lengths of. But I kind of do know the lengths. It tells me from here to here is 3. So I know this is 3. It also tells me from here to here is 3. So from this top to the bottom here is 3 plus 3, which is 6. Because I've got 3 here, it's 6. So to find the perimeter, I'm just going to add everything up. 6 plus 6 plus 10 plus 5 plus 3. All right, so if I add all those up, 6 plus 6, that's 12, plus 0 is still 12, plus 5 is 17, plus 3 is 20, and then 2 plus 1 is 30. So the perimeter is just 30 centimeters. Now for the area, well, I've got two shapes here. I've got my rectangle, and I've got my trapezoid. So we're going to find the areas of both of them. Okay? I'm going to take this 6, rewrite it as 3 and 3. So the area of this rectangle, we know, is just length times width. Length is 6, width is 3, so it's 6 times 3. That's 18. Okay? Now I need to find the area of this trapezoid. Okay? The area of a trapezoid, we know from our formula sheet, is 1/2 the height times the sum of the bases. All right, so let's figure that out. It's 1/2 times the height. The height is just the distance between the two parallel sides. Here's one parallel side, here's the other. Distance between them is 3. Okay, the bases are the parallel sides. So the bottom one we know is 10. And the top one, well, we know this side is 6, and because it's a rectangle, that means this side is 6, so this is going to be 6. So that tells me the area equals 1/2 times 3 times 16. And if I multiply that all out, that's 1/2 of 3 is 1.5 times 16 gives me 24. So my area of my rectangle is 18. My area of my trapezoid is 24. So to find the area of the whole shape, I just add 18 plus 24. Eight plus 4 is 12. And 1 plus 1 plus 2 is 42. And this is going to be in centimeters squared because we're talking about area. So you notice all I did, I took my shape, I separated it into shapes that I knew the formulas for their area, found the area of each one, and added them together. All right, so let's take a look at another example. I want to find the perimeter of this area and perimeter of this weird shape here. So, question becomes, how am I going to divide this up? I have this weird kind of curve here. Well, if I draw this dashed line here, now I've got, make this a little smaller, now I've got a rectangle and a semicircle. So, if I want to find my area and perimeter, now I've got two shapes that I know how to work with. So, first let's start with perimeter. So, to find my perimeter, I'm missing one side here. Well, if this is 2, that makes this one 2. And I've also got this curve up here that I need to find the length of, or the length of. Well, we know perimeter of a circle. We call it the circumference. And that's equal to either 2 times pi times the radius, or just pi times the diameter. And because this is half of a circle, I can say it's pi times the diameter divided by 2. So the question becomes, what's the diameter? How long is this dashed blue line? Well, this side is 7. Okay, so this whole thing must be 7. This little part of it's 1. This little part of it's 2. So I just do 7 minus 1, that's 6, minus 2, that's 4. So this dashed blue line is 4 centimeters. And it makes sense because 1 plus 4 plus 2 gives me 7. So to find this curve, I just do pi times 4 divided by 2. Okay, 4 divided by 2 is, so this 4 divided by 2 is just 2, so that's just pi times 2. So if I do that, let's just use 3.14 for pi just to be somewhat accurate. So I do 3.14 times 2, and I get 6.28. So that means that this whole curve here is 6.28 centimeters. So now I can find my perimeter. I just add up everything I know. 2 plus 1 plus 6.28 plus 2 plus 2 plus 7. So let's add all these up. Well, these don't have decimals, so I know it's going to end in 0.28. 2 plus 1 is 3, plus 6 is 9, plus 2 is 11, plus 2 is 13, plus 7 is 20. So this is 20.28 centimeters. All right, so now let's figure out area. All right, that's the perimeter. Now let's figure out area. Let's do the easy part first. I've got a rectangle here. So now my area, just length times width. Length is 2, width is 7. 2 times 7 is 14. So 14. Now for the circle, it's a half circle. Area of a circle we know is pi times r squared. And because this is half a circle, we're just going to divide by 2 at the end. So, well, radius is half the diameter. Okay? Now I know the diameter of this circle. Distance from here to here is 4. So half the diameter, well, that's 4 divided by 2. That's 2. So the radius equals 2. All right? That's important that we know that. So we're going to plug that into our formula. Pi times 2 squared divided by 2. If we work this out, 2 squared is 4, so that's pi times 4 divided by 2. 4 divided by 2, well, that's just 2, so that's pi times 2. So weirdly enough, in this case, the area is exactly the same as the circumference. It's 6.28, which is pi times 2. Okay? Kind of weird. Area and circumference end up being the same. That doesn't happen very often. So this area up here is 6.28. So to find my total area, I just add them together. 14 plus 6.28 is 20.28 centimeters squared. So weirdly enough, we've got a shape here whose area is exactly the same as its perimeter. Kind of a weird result, but it works. All right, let's take a look at our third example. So it says find the area of the shaded region in the figure. So this one's a little bit different. I've got here a rectangle with a triangle inside of it. And I want to know what is the area of just this shaded gray region. Okay? Think of this as a shape with this triangle cut out of the middle. So I want to know just what is the area of this shaded region. Well, this shaded region, it's a weird shape. It's a rectangle with a triangle cut out of it. So we don't really have a formula for its area. But what I can do is I can take the area of this rectangle, the area of this triangle, and I could subtract them, like taking the triangle out of the rectangle, and that'll tell me what is the area of just this shaded region. So, area of the rectangle, we know, is just the length times the width, which is 5 times 8, which is 40. The area of the triangle is 1/2 times the base, which is 36, times the height, which is 27. So if I do that, 1/2, that's 0.5, times 36, times 27, gives me, oh, now notice where I messed up here. 36 inches, 27 inches, and these are in feet. So the problem here is much more complicated than we thought. 486 inches squared. I go back and fix my rectangle. Okay, now notice this is an interesting problem, and it's something I should have paid attention to, and we should really talk about. Sometimes you won't always be given the same units. So here I've got 8 feet, here I've got inches. So I've got to turn this into feet, or turn this feet into inches. Well, I know 1 foot is 12 inches, so 8 feet equals 96 inches, and 5 feet equals 60 inches. So my area is actually 96 times 60, which is 5,760 inches. Quite a bit different than 40 inches. So now, to find my area of my shaded region, now that I know the area of the rectangle, and I know the area of the triangle, all I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract them. 5,760 minus 486, which gives me 5,200 5,274 inches squared. So you can see the general way that I did this. I just found the area of the outside shape, found the area of the inside shape, and subtracted them. All right, so that's all I've got for composite figures. So here is your try it problem for tonight. Find the area and perimeter of this shape below. All right, now I'm not going to divide this up for you. I think you can probably figure out how to divide this into some shapes that you can find the area of. I'll give you a hint, divide it into 3 shapes. But in order to find the perimeter, you're also going to need to figure out how long is that side and how long is this side. So your try it problem for tonight, find the area and perimeter of this shape.